in front of it, like it, because the universe is your first enemy. That's what y'all need to know. Like a lot of y'all probably hear a lot of rhetoric about the universe, like it's grandma Christianity. So if you're listening to somebody who ain't in Christianity, they made the Christian God the universe. So a lot of times you listen to these individuals and stuff like that. This is why your life ain't working, because these individuals came from damaged things. So whatever they went through in life ain't got nothing to do with the universe or their Bible or anything that they into. But whatever they got into is based on something that ain't got nothing to do with that. So if a person in fake woke community right now, the universe is the Christian God now. They might not think they're saying that, but it is. And I need to let you. The universe is Lucifer. That's your first worst enemy. Because anytime you try to bring your own thought, the united thought goes against it, no matter how good it is. And the only people who running around talking about the universe this, universe that, is people who became puppets to the universe. The things in the world, they start doing something the right way of how the shadow government made it. And the moment, anytime they stop doing that, they start losing the accumulation of what they was praying for and was thanking God for. But Uriel is wise enough to understand. They just realized they was playing a role and they stopped it, and their money getting ready to slow up too, or anything else get ready to slow up. But a lot of times when a person be talking for or against the universe, when they be talking for the universe, a lot of times it's just because they accumulated some stuff in their life that the shadow government created, like a house, some money, a car, a good car, something like that, for them to stop being insecure, a relationship they got into, someone who lacked that. So they really getting used and abused and stuff like that. And that person just forcing themselves to be a fake version and trying to become that. So that becomes their trauma bonded relationships and stuff. But that's what a person really be chalking it up, talking about they did something right with the universe and stuff like that. But the shit that they really, if you really want to put their spiritual back against the wall, hold their piggy to the fire and really challenge them and be like, what are you talking about? And what did the universe do to you? They start naming a whole bunch of Jewish shit. Start naming a whole bunch of stuff that ain't got nothing to do with nothing about nothing. They just was lapdogs from the universe. The universe, and anytime you really try to do something on your own, you're gonna see how much the universe ain't on your side. Thank you so much for the donation, Star Enlightenment. He says is there a being bigger than the universe? Nope. We make the universe. The universe is all of our minds together, and that become the atmosphere around us. And that'll be the only being that's not a being. It's just like some organism that we're trying to make and stuff like that. That we can all create a micro version for ourselves out of. And that'll be our new glorified body that we're inside of, what we created from the inside out. So as a spirit, we create the mind form, then the mind form bends in on itself, right, and become tough. And as a spirit, we could do that same attribute again and make this form expand and contract. This is why we got a pulse. So everything that we created smaller, micro, that represent how we accumulated the bigger for us to be inside of it in the first place, we got attributes to all those different sizes and shapes and forms, mentally and physically. Now, when we bring all those things together, become united, that become one form that all of us as spiritual spaces, each piece of the yoke is making a bigger yoke, right? And then therefore, we make a bigger world mentally, weather-wise, to condense to become physical, but it's invisible because what we inside of becomes invisible to our visibility, and then we can make a more version of what's visible, of how we make bigger versions. So we're able to use all the many shapes and forms and objects that we was once inside of as access to our hands now that we could build on as our body and houses and stuff like that. And then we keep being on that process. Make it a world from the inside out to be inside of. See what I'm saying? And then when we inside of it, we get to use all the micro mechanisms, how we made that bigger form, right? To make a bigger form. Then when we get into a bigger form, how that big, so for an example, the atmosphere is what we inside of. That's the bigger form we created as a micro. Then we created as a macro. Then we created all of our micro versions. Your own weather system, chakra and body, right? Then now, for the most part, all the micro versions of how we created from the inside out, the atmosphere around us, and us, the micro version inside of it, we can come together and create a bigger version. Being smarter mentally and connecting physically, creating technology and fucking. Now, when we expand this form we're in with all the micro versions, right? We make a bigger form. Now, the atmosphere we in right now is going to be something smaller that we got access to. You know what I'm saying? That we can use in many different shapes and forms, micro rods, and make pieces of our body on it. So even look at that on a micro scale to even the nuclearified body we have, where things like right now, the brain and the heart is important, but they pump on their own, but you can move your hands and move your legs. The next body, your brain and your heart might be something you can move like your hand and your legs, and you'll have that too. But you'll have another organ that play out like the brain and the heart that might be different than the brain and the heart that act out on its own. That might be more powerful and more aware to have to develop intelligence to utilize the world more than the brain and heart did from that attribute. You know what I'm saying? You get it? So it's always when we go to that simultaneous space, the most lightest space, we're realizing the internal and external when we did it at one time and stuff like that. So when you go to that space, you'll realize all thoughts and feelings is under that pyramid scheme in all worlds. So you'll be able to understand we make this one being, and all of us together is that one being. So that being is us, but it ain't us. Just like your mind is yours, but you ain't your mind. It's something you use. It's something you make. So it's like your cells. Your spirit make your mind, and your mind bend in and become your blood cells. It's your cells. It's yourself. It's which your spirit used to represent yourself. But these things truly expire because every time something has a starting point, it has an expiration date. When you have a thought, it has an expiration date. The thought bends in and become a physical form. When you be born, you have a death date. You have an expiration when you die. So anything you create has an expiration date. The flesh and the fluid, the mental, physical world, and then the physical world that bend in on itself to become the be. But your spirit is eternal, for everlasting. Your spirit is eternal. Your mind is internal, and your body is external. So your mind is inside your body, and your spirit is inside your mind, and your spirit controls your mind, and your mind controls your body. So that's how you understand the loop-de-loop layer tie-in knot system you put yourself in. So the brain need the mind and the mind need the brain, but they both need the spirit, and the spirit know how to create different circumstances of these all over the place based on its ability. The spirit leave that information it was inside of, that mind and body, and based upon expansion and contraction inside of it, the expiration date, once that mind and body die, the mind cloud fade away, the body expire and turn into dust. The spirit keeps the ability, aka the size of the spirit based upon expansion and contraction. The form it was inside of, the expansion and contraction represents experiencing that awareness. And once the experience become outdated, that spiritual birth, physical death out of that mind and body. And based upon how much you learned in that form information, your spirit could have the ability of creating awareness that's bigger than the space it was previously in. So when the spirit, the individual soul, the individual space, the solo space, which is the soul, if it has the ability to create an awareness that it's expanded more, the awareness is much more broader, is get ready to experience. So that's the mentality, both sides, the thoughts and feelings that the space is inside of, to be aware that it's bigger. So the awareness is how it could be aware that it's bigger. So it becomes not unconscious, the awareness becomes subconscious, and now that spirit could be subconscious, the mind, and that subconscious could develop as conscious awareness, energy, a physical form. So without the subconscious, the spirit is unconscious, and that represents non-existence. So it's just space within space, like water within water. Once an individual solo space, a soul becomes aware, it has something to be aware that is separated from another space, doing the same thing. That's why space ain't a vacuum. So once it created an awareness, that automatically becomes the subconscious. The subconscious, eternally, but it's external from that first presence that you created it simultaneously. What you created from the inside out of that space that was nothing, you created something around it, awareness. And that awareness is what we call an energy. But it's your mind first, your first house, the first representation of the space you in that we're calling the house as a spirit. That's why the Masons and the Greeks call the feminine energy, or the houses or the receiving energy always give it a feminine name or represent the feminine natures. But it's not even that. But that'll lead you into the train of thought, a line of reasoning of thinking the mind is feminine because it has the ability to receive. But the spirit is what they will be calling it. So you'll get confused in Western Hemisphere indoctrination, and you might call the spirit the mind. But no, the spirit, y'all conflate too much because y'all lost into matching things together as spells. So you lost in a mental spell. You know what I'm saying? So that's like me saying the water is a tree. That's how I hear y'all when y'all be saying the spirit is this, the spirit is that, the spirit is breath. The spirit is water. The spirit is an egg cell. The spirit is this. No, the spirit is the spirit. Water is water. Breath is breath. Air is air. Just because you're trying to make a correspondence to something, to understand something, this is my concept of telling you that you're lost in Western Hemisphere indoctrination. You're relating things in the physical world or what you can observe in mind to something that's invisible. And the better you have that, the better you know how to do that. Once upon a time, they called it an art, anthropomorphizing, intelligent, psychology. Not saying that the actually correspondence that they're pointing to is something that actually exists, which is why you guys atheists out here claiming quantum fields is an actual thing, where the actual term itself doesn't even make sense. For them to explain it like it's actually something. It's saying quantum field. Field means a field, a reality, a field. They're not saying the reality of the field. They're just saying the space that a field, a location, a point of reference, just an area with nothing in it, and what can be derived in it. And what could be derived in it could be a beach, a woods, a river, a desert, some bushes, but that would be the quantum things that we need to get into. And that ain't nothing but them explaining atoms and anything of that nature. A certain atoms collection in a certain field, aka a certain area, a certain period in space, develops the atoms as an alchemy for it to manifest as a beach in this field. In this location, the atoms may come together as a mathematical equation to develop a woods, a rainforest. But saying quantum fields is real itself, what you're saying real is the atoms, and then that still haven't been discovered because it's this water playing out micro macro at different density levels. And at different density levels, y'all separating water and calling it different things. So water at a different density level, you'll call it air, you'll call it wind, but these are different density levels. But for the most part, y'all get so lost, y'all call it molecules and atoms and quarks and think that these are something different. No, these are one thing interacting with each other at different density levels. Y'all just don't go outside to understand that on a macro and micro scale. Right? On a macro scale, you can see one river at one density level at a current interacting with another piece of the water in your city, and now it's storming in your city. Or now y'all got a hurricane in y'all city. On a macro scale, how you think clouds, rainbows, and the sun and moon is being produced? That's what these things are. Not something you can land on. So any microcosm is that same thing. So whatever they call in atoms and gluons is just one water bubble at one density level interacting with another water cycle at one density level, and it's so small to the naked eye it's unobservable because it's playing out as air. Y'all just like, is y'all retarded or not? It's retarded. You know what I'm saying? Life is very simple, but y'all just go get retarded somewhere. Like, you know what I'm saying? And life, like, God didn't tell y'all to get retarded. God said life right in front of you, and you don't need a mathematical book. Then you can make your own mathematical book because you're not trying to create one being a fool. You're trying to create one because you seen the order first. Now you can see where they got right, where you come to the same conclusions, who's using it as a bias and rhetoric and for lostness, and how to do it the natural way if you choose to be the wise individual and do things fair. Or you could choose to participate the same way the shadow government is doing it. But you don't lack those abilities, and whoever told you you don't know everything, they a goddamn fool. You know what I'm saying? Now let me finish these alignments because we 2 hours in. I ain't even going to hit this with y'all. I'm just going to roll so I can stretch out and relax real quick and get prepared for tomorrow. And then get prepared to hit the road. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. You know what I'm saying? Real stuff. But yeah, I really need to get into start expanding though, for real though. Get it to real estate and stuff like that. I don't want to do real estate here because it's phony here. There's a bunch of dopes. Yeah, I probably won't even reach the money I'm trying to get here anyway. So like I'm trying to figure that out too right now. And what's going to be most fluid and beneficial for what I already do. Because I can't stop. If I stop doing what I'm doing, I'm gonna be no little problem man. So I gotta make sure I expand. I outgrown this little space. When angels say they outgrown and say little space, that's about 5 cities and states. You know what I'm saying? Real stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Depending on how much the angel be expressing and putting energy work in, that might be countries and stuff like that. So when I say this little space, sometimes I be thinking, dude, damn, do I need to go to another country? You know what I'm saying? Real stuff. Cause I could really just go on the you know what I'm saying, woods and lay down and stuff like that and enjoy the rest of my little life. I'm still teaching stuff though. But yeah, we got Mars yeah, Mars square Uranus and Taurus. So with Mars square Uranus and Taurus, you might need to learn how to express yourself in a more, because yeah, I broke this down, but for the most part, people don't understand it. So I got to break it down for the one too. A lot of times, individuals may not know that your way of expressing yourself may not have the sufficient practical manner behind it in order for it to even manifest during this particular time. So if you learn more of your individuality other than what you try to get attention for to suit your pride, the more that you'll be able to put yourself in a more rational situation and don't create no tower moments or bridge burning situation based upon your ego or your pride or your feelings about something. When whatever situation in front of you, you know, if you act more practical, that actually makes more sense and it can benefit your life. You know what I'm saying? Because right now we're dealing with energies where a lot of individuals may spoil their own blessings, which you'll never be less and stuff like that. But based upon the energies that people be in, sometimes by default, you may do things to protect the vulnerability that automatically by default creates a tower moment in other areas that you don't necessarily want. Because you got to start to build on certain energies to carry it around like an aura. For an example, let's say you want to do something. 9 times out of 10, when you want to do something or accomplish something, it's not something that you're currently doing. So you need to develop, you got to match energies always if you're the alchemist. So you got to go somewhere and develop energies of things you ain't done before. So it can play out in that area also. So start to add new ideas of how you're going about your creative gifts and passions that you're already doing, how you communicate. Practice little things. Go to the store on another street than you usually go to it and stuff like that. So your mind is starting to be aware of new things you didn't necessarily done before on a small percentage scale that don't make you uncomfortable because it's just little things like even in your same area. You just going to the store just on another street. So it ain't something that you got to think about like, oh, I'm doing something new in my life. It's still something you're going, but you're still adding small percentage levels of little awarenesses of things you don't normally do or you don't see before. Then that'll start to accumulate second, a minute, an hour, and after an hour. And once it start to accumulate, you right, whatever you direct your energies on more throughout your day, seconds, minutes, and hours, hopefully it's for God, your creative gifts and passions, that aura, and whenever you interact with people, that aura is going to be around you. And that aura is going to manifest, condense as a mentality. You're going to have the right body language, facial expression, words to say, to be on the right time, to be in an event around other species that make up that event that play out as that scenario. You experiencing something you ain't experienced before. And if you direct that into an area that you doing things, like let's say you make music or something like that, that's where that energy gonna play out. Something happening with you when you doing music that you never experienced anymore. You getting a record deal or something like that. See what I'm saying? And you was developing all that, not experiencing energy anymore in areas that ain't even had nothing to do with your talent. But you're being an alchemist right now. You're being a magician right now. This is how you know who I am. This shit I do. See what I'm saying? This is how you could be a stranger and you know who a rapper is. You know who a person on YouTube is. You know, sometimes these people do it by default. I'm giving you the game right now. See what I'm saying? This is how you look like money, even if all your clothes bummy. This is how you look like a good relationship. This you got to look the part. Once you match energies and know how to do it. And I'm kind of scared to go to because this is a series too. I'm kind of scared to even do it because even looking at how the mental illness one played out, I don't know. But when you know the energy that you're trying to participate with, even when it's time to fight fire with fire, you won't be carrying all this trauma baggage from your previous circumstance before you participate with it of moral systems to make you feel like how to treat people or not treat people. In that area, it might be events that play out that just for you to maintain your position and protection spells, it might have to be dog eat, dog eat. And if you're not prepared for that energy, that might not be what you want to do in that area. That's what I'm saying. Because every time you do it, the way any area is supposed to be done, even if it appear to be negative, when you're in a spiritual different space, observing it from the outside in, and you're not participating with all the world that accumulated in the first place, first you need to understand if it's something getting a lot of attention, there's something else but beyond your morality, regardless if you dislike it or not. Then you need to understand this, right? When you're acting out in a world, it don't matter if it's negative or positive. When you do all the right things of how that world is built up, how that industry is built up, you just doing it is you getting praised for it. So you really have to get out your thoughts and feelings, especially if you're in the music industry and stuff like that. Like I'm giving y'all game. You would definitely have to get out your, infinitely have to get out your moral systems you developed from your GMO ass mother and shit. And grandparents and aunties and friends that you grew up with that don't amount to shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I love all y'all from the bottom of my heart. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go ahead and get prepared. Rehearse my little thing too. You know what I'm saying? If y'all want to see Dolo the Pilot Man in New York City and things of that nature, it's gonna be a live band instrument and things of that nature. A lot of y'all seen the flyer, those individuals' names on there. It's something that they throwing down, and it's Beyond Me. They got a lot of things going on and stuff like that. Beyond Me, y'all check them out and stuff like that. And I'm just gonna be a guest, and you know, my little segment or whatever like that, I'm doing some spoken word. So you know, it's going to be lyrical and things of that nature. It's going to rhyme, but it's also going to be put in the context of, you know, formation and structure, and also teaching and lecture. But then on top of that, it's going to be layered in live band, like you listening to some, you know, summertime music instrumentation from the most spiritual band you ever going to hear in a day in your life. You know what I'm saying? And then for the most part, that's a whole new circumstance we're opening up in the world also, where you ain't never seen no stuff like that either. You know, and then there's some high magnitude stuff. And then, you know, when I'm booked up too, so I got a lot of things going on as far as astrology, comedy, Jerry Springer type stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I gotta participate with the world now. I can't wait around no more. Even though I'm not waiting anyway, you know what I'm saying? So let me even stop speaking like that, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm speaking to the chat and making y'all feel like y'all automatically soul group and y'all supposed to do something that you probably can't even take care of yourself. I'm not speaking, I'm just speaking as in terms. But for the most part, like I said, yeah, what I have to do, what I always knew I have to do anyway. Like, so, you know, I got to be my own assistant, manager, bodyguard, correlator, connector, promoter, because I'm promoting myself, and engineer, and what else about to call? What's the other one? Road manager, and things of that nature, and own what they call that, driver. No, what they call that, the other one, chauffeur, and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to figure out if I'm a rent a whip or not. I think I'm a rent a car, coming to New York or whatever like that. So yeah, so that's the better way to do it and things of that nature. So yeah, if you want to come check Dolo the Pilot Man out in the most loudest band or whatever like that for a good couple hours, if you ain't doing nothing or whatever like that, get this spoken word or whatever. And or if you far away and can't make it, I'm probably coming to a city near you anyway. So y'all start seeing a lot of the posts I make after this event and things of that nature. And I love all y'all from the bottom. Hold on. Thank you so much for the donation. Stevie Scott Astro, who said been watching for 3 years, still watching. We love it. Oh, I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Real stuff. Real stuff. You going too? You look like you going more than me. Real stuff. I just be tired sometimes. And thank you so much for the donation, Beta. Oh, I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Real stuff. Yeah, catch y'all on a late flight. Late flight, just be gone. Catch a late flight. You know what for that?